Virgo, welcome to your astrology reading for the month of August. So before I jump into the energy of the month, this is going to be most applicable for your rising sign, which is how other people perceive you when they meet you. It's still applicable for your sun sign, which is how you express yourself, and your moon sign, which is how you process everything internally through your emotional lens. So understanding all three is really going to give you that holistic picture of how the month is going to play out for you. And just to kind of touch on the energy of the month, so we have a lot of Leo energy. And we also have Mercury stationing retrograde. So the pre-shadow for Mercury stationing retrograde happened on the 16th of July. So we're already in the energy. We're already starting to see that slowdown, this kind of shift from an external communication to an internal reflection. All of that's currently underway. But we have so many planets that are retrograde right now. So it's really just one more into the mix. We already have Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron. Chiron's an asteroid, but they're all retrograde right now, so we'll just add Mercury into the mix. So that's a lot of energy directed inward, or kind of a shifting there, because Chiron is a little bit different in that respect, where it's already hidden, so now it's kind of coming to the surface. So there's a lot of shifting of the energy taking place. And so kind of jumping into the energy of the month, we start the month off with the new moon in the sign of Leo. So that's going to happen on the 4th at 7:13 in the morning Eastern time. And so when this happens, you've got the sun and the moon at the same degree point in the sky. So it's an overlapping of the energy, a lot of highlighting how you feel, expressing how you feel. For you, all of this energy is sitting in your 12th house, which is your internal self. It's your subconscious. And so there's a lot of how do you feel internally? What kind of... I want to say it's like a bold expression of yourself, but more of like this internal reflection connection where you're really looking at yourself and maybe taking some sort of creative eye to how you process everything here, because that 12th house energy is your subconscious. So it is how you're processing things. So there's that kind of emphasis on this new moon for you. This new moon is actually going to talk to a couple of planets. So it's going to have a conversation with both Mars and Jupiter. This new moon, so really kind of this internal understanding of yourself, how you feel about yourself, the way that you are kind of seeing yourself, it's going to create some sort of opportunity in your career for some sort of growth and expansion. This is an opportunity that you're going to have to take an action on, but it's going to sextile both Mars and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. Mars is the action that you would need to take in your career. Jupiter is that growth and expansion. And so with that Gemini energy, you have all the facts in front of you. Whatever action you're taking, you know all the information here. And so there's something about seeing yourself differently during this new moon that's going to help you take some sort of bold action in your career and really kind of grow and expand that. This new moon is actually going to trine the North Node in Aries as well. And so the trine North Node, the nodes, the North Node, the South Node, these are eclipse points. These are fated events that are meant to take place. And so right now there is this need for you to take some sort of action in the sign of Aries. So Aries is an action-oriented sign anyway. North Node is the action that you're required to take. For you, this is sitting in your 8th house. This is the house of death and rebirth. This is some sort of transformation. And so when you think about you're starting to look at yourself differently internally, it's giving you this kind of opportunity to really step out and take some sort of action here to grow and expand your career. But it's also giving you this kind of lever to change, make some sort of adjustment here, because that 8th house is the house of death and rebirth. So there's a transformation. It's an internal transformation that is meant to occur right now for you. That's what that North Node in Aries indicates. Then later that same day, we'll have Venus enter the sign of Virgo. Virgo, so it's your sign. This is a very healing energy. You are the healer within the Zodiac. You're also very analytical. You're one that won't just say something. You're not an impulsive sign by any means. In fact, that's probably more Leo, and you kind of balance Leo out that way. That's usually how the Zodiac signs work. And so you take this kind of internal healing reflection in order to figure out what your next steps need to be. So you're putting a lot of thought behind any kind of action that you're taking. When Venus enters your sign, Venus is all about finding that balance, focusing on what you value, really bringing things together. And so when you think of it that way, there's a healing component, because if you think of an open wound, Venus wants to heal it. Virgo, you want to heal it. This is sitting in your 1st house. So this is who you are. This is the physical person that people see. It's your physical self. this Venus energy will conjunct Mercury in the sign of Virgo. And Mercury in Virgo indicates that you might have some sort of conversation around, okay, what is it that I'm trying to do here? What is it that I need to heal? Do I need to have some sort of conversation with another person? You don't necessarily have to have some sort of outward conversation, although this does kind of lend itself to that. And I say that because we'll have Mercury station retrograde here, and so you're going to be able to do some internal processing as well. But when Venus enters the sign of Virgo, there's also going to be this easy blend with healing whatever wound has been coming to the surface. So there's that Chiron energy. So Chiron is the wounded healer. It is that kind of inner wound. It's sitting in your 8th house. So 8th house is death and rebirth, power and control issues, intimacy issues, could be things connected to debt, money, like the money that you earn or an inheritance, your spouse's income. There's a lot that sits in that 8th house energy that could somehow manipulate or control you in some sort of way. And so there is a transformation that can take place within that 8th house. It is the death and rebirth. And so whatever it is, whatever you're trying to do to yourself, heal about yourself, it's going to easily blend with healing a wound that has been coming to the surface. Maybe as it relates to relationships and intimacy and getting into that kind of relationship in general, or is it something connected to the money that you earn? It's giving you this ability to heal something here. And I say that because literally earlier in the same day when it comes to 8th house, so 8th house is money that you would earn from an employer. It's definitely wrapped up there. And earlier in the day when we had the new moon, there's a lot of connections here to taking some sort of action in your career to be able to grow and expand. And so there could be some sort of connection here as well, where you're able to kind of heal that energy, maybe have some conversations that lead to a healing of a wound connected to the money that you earn. Venus will also square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. We're going to see this energy a lot throughout the month until we get to the end of the month. Kind of similar to what I've said in prior videos over prior months. There's going to be an opportunity here to kind of navigate this a little bit better. But for now, whatever it is that you're trying to bring together within your physical self, whatever it is that you're trying to heal about yourself, it's creating obstacles or challenges to other changes that are taking place that are meant for your own growth and expansion. Could be things where maybe it's making it harder to see the big picture or where things are going to be kind of going from here. That Uranus and Taurus energy for you is sitting in your 9th house. So this could be related to personal philosophy, higher education, things like that. And so it's a challenge, it's a square energy. You can work with it. You do have to put the effort in to work with it. And then literally a couple of hours later, we'll have, Mercury station retrograde in the sign of Virgo. That's going to happen on the 5th, right after midnight. So at 12:56 in the morning Eastern time. And so when this happens, we'll have Mercury and Venus. So we saw Mercury and Venus conjunct 2 hours before. They're still conjunct. It's just now, instead of having those kind of external conversations, there's an internal reflection. The emphasis is there. And so whatever it is that you're trying to heal about yourself, or you're thinking things through, this is the action that I need to take. This is kind of my role in this situation. This is what I need to do for myself in order to be able to heal. That's what's happening here. This Mercury retrograde will square Mars in Gemini. And so as you're kind of thinking about what it is that you need to heal, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge for you to take any kind of action in your career. And it's simply because you're really focused on your internal self rather than taking some sort of external action. You can almost see how you've got to prioritize one over the other. And so right now the priority is this internal reflection, this internal healing. This Mercury retrograde will also square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so again, thinking about your growth and your expansion, any kind of changes that are taking place, and Uranus in Taurus, these would be sudden changes. These are changes that have probably already been happening because Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus here. And so this internal reflection, it's just creating more obstacles and challenges as it relates to kind of navigating some of those changes, maybe incorporating some of those changes into your life, kind of figuring out how all of this ties together. But again, square energy, you can work with it. You just have to put the effort in. And I made a note here. I will go into Lionsgate. So Lionsgate it's a lot of Leo energy. There's tarot, there's astrology, kind of all played in together. It happens on 8/8. We're actually already in it right now. So the portal itself started July 26th, and then it goes until mid-August, but 8/8 is kind of that culmination point. So I'm going to do a separate video on that topic. I'm not going to get into it here. But I am going to go kind of back for a second and talk about Mercury stationed retrograde in the sign of Virgo on the 5th. But on the 14th, it actually regresses back into the sign of Leo. And so when this happens, it's going to be on the 14th at 8:16 in the evening Eastern time. And so now Mercury will be conjunct the sun because the sun is in the sign of Leo. Whatever is happening for you internally, whatever started maybe during this new moon or even prior to the new moon where you started doing a lot of reflecting, seeing yourself differently, Mercury retrograde is now in that energy as well. And so it's going to start processing. How are you seeing things differently? What else do you need to do differently here? And so a lot of internal reflection, a lot of maybe thinking outside the box on things that you need to do for yourself, that kind of energy. Mercury retrograde will also trine the moon in Sagittarius. And so the moon in Sagittarius, so Sagittarius, more of that kind of like ninth house energy, very similar energy here. Sagittarius is all about the truth, seeing big picture. This occupies your house of home. And so whenever you think about, okay, I'm seeing myself differently, this Mercury retrograde in Leo, I'm understanding things differently, I'm taking a different approach to processing all of this information, it's going to easily blend with the direction that you see your home life going, how you feel about your home life, because that moon in Sagittarius energy, this is a very harmonious energy. You understand where you want your home life to be. You get the big picture of it. There's a lot of optimism connected to it. So really an easy blend of energy here, really positive. They all aid each other. This Mercury retrograde in Leo is also going to help with that wound that's been coming to the surface. So as it relates to the money that you make, or maybe some sort of intimacy issues here, power and control, that kind of death and rebirth energy, Mercury retrograde is going to easily blend with whatever you're doing to heal that wound. And so how you're shifting and how you're maybe looking at yourself and thinking about how you process everything and internalize everything, it's helping to heal that wound. And so this is something that's just going to organically happen. You don't have to put in any additional effort or energy into the mix. It's just going to happen. And then we'll have Mercury retrograde square Uranus and Taurus. And so again, this energy is going to come up a lot until we get to August 29th when we can kind of navigate it a little bit better. And so whatever changes are taking place that are meant to kind of spur more growth for you, it just feels like that's not where your focus is right now. You're focused more on your inner self, this internal processing, seeing yourself differently, understanding things differently, healing this wound. So it's like an internal you versus external world. Right now, the focus is on you. And then on the 19th, we'll have the full moon in the sign of Aquarius. So that's going to happen at 2:26 in the afternoon Eastern time. And so when this happens, you have the sun and you've got the moon. They're at opposite points in the sky. The sun is a very self-centered energy. The sun is the ruler of Leo, so it's really more of that kind of energy. Whereas we'll have the moon in the sign of Aquarius. The Aquarius is kind of that collective energy. So it's the me versus we type of energy. For you, Sun in Leo is sitting in your 12th house, so that internal you, versus Aquarius sitting in your 6th house, which is your daily life. And so you can kind of already see how this is going to play out. It's like I'm thinking of myself differently, I'm expressing myself differently, and it starts with the internal me, and it's going to be opposite about how I feel about maybe changes that are taking place within your daily life. Aquarius in your 6th house indicates to me that you might be okay without having kind of like a steady schedule or something along those lines, because that Aquarius energy is a very liberating, don't confine me to any kind of set pattern or set schedule. That's just not the Aquarius energy. And so with the moon sitting in that energy, moon sitting in that house, how you feel about your daily life, kind of I want to say, because it is a kind of a liberating change. It's not feeling so confined. That kind of feels like they're just a push-pull energy here, where how you see yourself and how you want to express yourself is just different than the kind of life that you're living right now. And so with any full moon, we'll have the sun and moon having different conversations with the planets as we kind of go through it here. And so we'll have the sun conjunct Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo. So again, thinking about yourself differently, seeing yourself through a different lens. It's going to easily blend with how you're expressing yourself externally. So that internal, external kind of alignment here. Whereas the moon is going to be opposite that energy. So again, kind of thinking about, because you are seeing yourself differently, your home life here, your daily life, really your daily life, it is very different than that, because it just feels like things are changing and it hasn't fully impacted all these areas of your life yet. It starts with you, and then it'll start to kind of blossom out into other areas of your life. We'll have the Sun trine Chiron in Aries. And so thinking about yourself, the way that you're expressing yourself, really that internal you, it's going to easily blend with whatever wound has been coming to the surface, whatever healing that you're doing as it relates to that death and rebirth, the money that you might be earning from an employer, any kind of intimacy wounds, whatever has been coming to the surface. These changes that you're making, the way that you're looking at yourself now, it's just helping you kind of heal that and move on from that. But the moon is actually going to also kind of aid that as well. So with the moon in Aquarius sitting in your daily life is set up in such a way right now, and how you feel about your daily life, it's creating an opportunity for you to take more action to heal that wound. And so this one here, you would have to take an action on, but the opportunity is there. You just have to seize it. The Sun and the Moon will also be in a T-square to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so what this really means here is, just like we've seen in some of the other placements so far this month, there are these changes that are taking place relative to your growth that right now don't seem to be the priority. And so during this full moon, they're still not the priority. You're very focused on seeing yourself differently, expressing yourself differently, understanding how you can find that balance with your daily life and the life just in general that you've set up for yourself. And so it's more of, again, kind of like you outside of the world, whereas outside of you and kind of like the rest of the world, there's other changes that are taking place that are meant to kind of help you grow and expand who you are. And it just feels like now isn't the right time, but if you feel like it is, you can work through the energy. It just requires you to put some effort and energy into it to kind of find that balance with all of this. Then we'll also have the moon trine Mars and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. And so the daily life that you've set up for yourself, the way that you like living your life, maybe it's not a set schedule, or it's just being flexible, ready to kind of travel comes to mind. So if in your daily life, maybe you've always had a career that involves some sort of travel, that it's not that steady schedule because you've had to go here and you've had to go there and you do all these different things, that is definitely Aquarius 6th house type of energy, where you've set yourself up to not have that steady 9 to 5 in the same office, sit in the same chair every single day type of energy. And so this moon in Aquarius will trine Jupiter and Mars, both in the sign of Gemini. And so there's going to be an easy blend. Your life that you've created for yourself easily blends with whatever action you're taking in your career. However you want to grow and expand your career, fully align. So if you have a career that involves a lot of travel and that's the action that you want to take, you've already set your daily life up for that. That's the kind of life that you want to live for yourself. And so you can see right there, easily flowing energy. Then we have the Sun enter the sign of Virgo. So that happens on the 22nd at 10:55 in the morning Eastern time. And so when this happens, we've got the Sun in Virgo. It is still conjunct Mercury retrograde, but Mercury retrograde is in the sign of Leo. And so this is a lot of inner view, outer view conversations. This Sun in Virgo, it is about your physical self. This is how you express yourself. This would be maybe expressing those kind of innermost pieces of yourself, maybe the healing journey that you've been on, things that you want to do for yourself. It's how you see yourself and express yourself. There is this understanding of yourself because you're looking at yourself differently internally. You are seeing your role kind of in the world, in your life through a different lens right now. And that's what this is meant to do. So it's allowing you to maybe express yourself in a way that you haven't felt comfortable doing in the past. That's what this is about. This Sun in Virgo will also trine Chiron in Aries. And so when you think about that wound connected to the money that you earn, intimacy issues, death and rebirth, things like that, expressing your innermost thoughts and feelings is going to easily flow with healing that wound. So there's something really kind of helping you out here. There's something where all of this is coming into an alignment. And what I really love about this energy is that this Chiron and Aries energy has been pretty strong for a few months now. I saw it really kind of hit a big point back in April when we hit the eclipse. So the eclipse on April 8th was a pretty strong one. And it was a solar eclipse in the sign of Aries. And we knew that it was at the same degree point as this Chiron energy. So it really highlighted this wound. And it was like, this cannot stay hidden any longer. Front and center, here it comes. And now is the time. And I've been picking up on that definitely towards the end of July, seeing it all through the month of August, there's a lot of healing energy. That wound is really starting to be addressed here. And so I love seeing that because you have all the tools necessary in order to be able to do it. And this is an easy flow of energy to help you there. And just like we've been seeing all month, the sun in Virgo will square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so whatever changes are taking place that are meant for your own personal growth, right now doesn't seem to be the time for you to kind of embrace those changes. You can if you want to. It's a square energy. You just have to work through it. But whatever you're doing, however you're expressing yourself right now in those kind of innermost feelings, it just doesn't line up very well with those changes that are taking place. Then on the 28th, we have Mercury station direct. So Mercury still in the sign of Leo. It will station direct at 5:14 in the evening Eastern time. And so when this does, Mercury in Leo is still sitting in your 12th house. I mean, it's still that inner you, that subconscious you, but now it's a different type of understanding of information. There might be conversations around your innermost self. This is helping to heal that wound that has been coming to the surface, because all of this energy, you can see there's just so much happening with this Chiron and Aries. Chiron, the wound; Aries, the action that you're taking as it relates to the wound. Everything that you're doing, everything that you're seeing about yourself, the way that you're expressing yourself, your understanding of yourself, the seeing yourself differently right now is really helping you transform and really kind of heal and release this wound. When Mercury stations retrograde, it's actually going to sextile both Mars and Jupiter in your career sector. So Mars and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini in your career. This is going to give you another opportunity to take some sort of action meant to grow your career or public reputation. I don't really highlight that as much, but it's your career or public reputation. So this is really, really positive. This is one where you would have to seize the opportunity. It's not something that's going to just happen organically. And then, just like we've been seeing, the Mercury in Leo will square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so when you think about those changes that have been taking place that are meant to help you grow and kind of expand who you are, something that's very practical, very grounded, it just doesn't seem to be the right time. Right now, you're doing a lot of internal work on yourself. You're really focused on this healing component. There's this healing of the wound that's taking place. So there's a lot of kind of you versus everything external to you. And so it just doesn't seem like the right time, not yet, but literally the next day, we start to see some of that clear up. So this is positive. Again, we have Venus enter the sign of Libra. So that happens on the 29th at 9:23 in the morning Eastern time. When Venus enters the sign of Libra, Venus is the ruler of Libra. So this is really positive. It's a lot of that energy amplified. Libra is very balanced, very grounded, very practical. Venus likes to bring things together. It is the ruler of relationships. When you think about this is how I think of Venus energy. And so if there is a wound, Venus wants to pull it back together. It wants to mend things. It wants to mend relationships. It wants to keep things on the right path. If, let's say, you get into some sort of disagreement with your spouse or your partner, whomever, does it matter? Like, at the end of the day, how big or how significant is this conflict? Is this fight? Is this a deal breaker? Because Venus wants you to prioritize what matters the most here. And with that Libra energy, same thing. For you, this Venus in Libra is sitting in your second house, and it's actually going to trine Uranus in Taurus. And so what this is doing is balancing out what you value, what is the most important to you, is going to help you navigate those changes that are taking place to help you grow and expand who you are. And so really focusing here. So not everything matters. It just doesn't. Not everything has equal weight. What is the most important to you? Focus there. That's going to help you. So finding that balance, maybe it's in your personal finances, probably more specifically around your values, what you value here. That's going to help you there. This Venus in Libra will also trine Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so we haven't spoken a lot about Pluto retrograde in Aquarius in a while. So Aquarius is your house of daily routines, your daily life. So it could be anything in your daily life. It's just the things that you do on a regular basis. So your diet, your exercise, or maybe not exercise, just the way you live your life in general. Pluto retrograde has been sitting in there. So there's a lot of internal changes taking place as it relates to understanding your daily life. What changes need to happen here? How have you been holding yourself back? What restrictions do you need to lift on yourself? And so what's happening here is when you focus and you prioritize what you value, that's going to help you see what changes you need to make in your daily life. What things can you let go of? Because Pluto is death and rebirth. And so what do you need to release? What do you need to hold on to and grow? We will have Venus in Libra square Mars in Gemini. And so focusing here on what you value and prioritizing the most meaningful pieces here, it is creating some sort of obstacle or challenge for you to take some sort of additional action in your career. It just indicates that this isn't the right time to take more action in your career. This seems a lot like I need to balance my personal finances. This square energy could be something along the lines of maybe you got a new job and you need to invest a lot in updating your wardrobe or spending a lot of money up front. Like if you travel for work and maybe it's spending a lot of money up front until you start getting those expense reimbursements. It could be something along those lines where it's a square energy. It's something that you can work with. You just have to work with it. And then we'll have Venus in Libra opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so Pisces occupies your 7th house. And so when you think about your relationships, those significant relationships in your life, Neptune in Pisces is all about your dreams. But sometimes these dreams can be so far off of reality that they're just not achievable, that you're really almost kind of fooling yourself in a way. We all do it. But with Neptune in Pisces, that energy is really amplified and it's sitting in that house of personal relationships. But when Neptune stationed retrograde, what it allowed you to do was not only reevaluate the type of relationship that you want here, but it also helped you see the truth. How practical of a relationship is this? Did you put somebody up here on a pedestal that they don't belong on? Because that indicates that you put that person above you, but that person's still a person. So they're not going to be perfect. There's going to be flaws in every single person. And so this Venus and Libra energy is going to be opposite maybe what you're learning or what you're considering from a relationship standpoint. It could be because you're prioritizing your personal finances, that maybe within your significant relationship, you're not spending a lot of money, or maybe you thought that you always needed to spend a lot of money in those personal relationships in order to grow into what you wanted or have that dream life that you wanted with this person. And what you're finding is, well, that's not necessarily the case here. So there's going to be this kind of push-pull energy. You can find the happy medium. Again, you just have to work with it. And the emphasis here on that Neptune retrograde in Pisces is really what kind of relationship do you want? What is your ideal relationship? And then how do you ground that kind of in reality? So Virgo, this is your reading. I hope it resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.